Hey all, my name is Riddhi and today I have a fun tutorial for you. You're going to learn how to paint eyes with life. Now, I personally believe that the eyes of a character can make or break an entire piece. So if you've ever felt like your characters look lifeless, it may be time to review how you're drawing or painting the eyes. By the end of this tutorial, you'll be able to paint eyes that look appealing and brimming with life. Are you ready? Let's dive in. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer. And now I'm going to choose a color and I'm going to choose this pretty blue and I'm going to go ahead and fill out the irises. Alright, now that's done, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create the pupils. So I'm going to create one layer and place it at the top of the blue color that I just painted, and then I'm going to choose a dark black color. That's kind of redundant, but and here's one tip for you when it comes to placing the pupils. So you don't want to place them too near the eyelid or even being covered by the eyelid, because then you will see it's going to make the character feel like she's high or half asleep or just not herself. So let's not do that. And you also don't want to place them like too at the bottom, because now she just looks awkward, so avoid that as well. You want to place it right in the center. I'm going to place them nearer the top, but not fully touching that. But depending on the shape and even the style of the eyes that you draw, you might have to play around with the position so that it makes sense and doesn't make the character feel like they're high or just weird. So okay, so if you like that, then you can go ahead, and if not, you can always continue playing around with them. But again, the thing is that you want to make sure that they are not, again, like, oh look, she's high and dizzy and like she's probably about to faint. And you also don't want them to be like completely out of position, because this is just awkward. So just place them in the right position. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and in the previous layer, you're going to go ahead and click on preserve opacity. And what this is going to do is that it's only going to allow you to paint over the colors or the shapes that you already created. So for example, you're going to see how it's not going to let me paint outside of the blue color, and that's exactly what we want, to make sure that we don't end up painting outside of the line. So choose the blue color that we painted, and I'm going to go ahead and now choose a darker, much darker color. So, and also I'm going to choose the airbrush, because what we're going to do is create a gradient at the top of the eye. So what this does is that it helps create the round shape of the eye and make it feel like like her eyes are round, and like the eyelids and eyelashes are casting a shadow over the eye, so that it feels more natural. Now, if there's a lot of difference between the color of the eyelashes and the shadow, you can always just go a little bit darker and add an even darker gradients. Now, if this one, the difference between the darker blue and the lighter blue are too harsh, you can always like slightly bend it with the water tool or with any Gaussian blur tool that you have at your disposal. So I'm going to slightly blur. Okay, that looks pretty nice. Next up, we are going to start highlighting the eye. For that, I choose the brush tool, and again I select the base color, and now I'm going to go into lighter shade. So to start, we're not going to go too light. I'm just going to go just a little bit lighter, and then I can continue highlighting as needed. And what we want to do now is, once we've selected the color, and again I'm using the brush tool, and in case you need the settings, I'm using a small size, and it's set to minimum size so that the edges of the brush stroke are smaller than the middle brush part. Density is 100%. I'm using the Stringy L brush. And blending, dilution, and persistence are all under 26. Alright, so let's go ahead, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line. Okay, this is starting to look too harsh, so I'm going to go back and just select a slightly different color to test. If it's still too harsh, what you can do is increase the blending of the tool until it's a bit softer. And now you want to play around with it to create like this shape, and you can repeat the process on the other eye. You don't need to get it to reach the top if it starts looking awkward, so I'm going to adjust that. Okay, now that we have the first line of highlights, and now we can go higher in luminosity and a bit saturation. Maybe we can even like make it slightly greener, and then we're going to just go over the same thing, same line softly, and trying to follow the same shape that we created below. And it's a bit tricky. You feel free to just like toggle the angle a bit if needed. The thing here is to highlight the center. This part, you want it to be lighter than the other areas, as if light was focusing on this part of the eye. So just again focusing. You want these edges of the eye and here to be darker than this part. This part at the bottom should be like the brightest, as if light was somehow accumulating there. Feel free to play with this until you're happy, but each time you want to go even brighter. And you can add more saturation to the brush or the color as well, so that it looks like that part is indeed like much brighter. Okay, it's looking quite nice actually. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to choose the pen tool, and I'm going to test with a few colors because I want this to be really bright and feel like very luminous. So I'm going to test, oops, too big. Now I'm using the pen, so not the brush, the pen, and I'm going to do something similar like before, but this time it's going to be more focused around the center. And again, I'm using a brighter and more saturated color. It's almost green this time. So feel free to play with the colors that look right for your specific eye. But yeah, you want it to look like it's like light is concentrating in this area. Alright, so when you're happy with it, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and even choose a brighter color. And I'm going to start adding some details throughout this area of the eye. So I'm going to add like little dots that shine super bright. Alright, so now what we can do is see where we want to add more detail. Maybe we want the gradient in the eyes to be darker, so we can just go ahead and fix that, and we can like make it even more pronounced and make the gradient at top of the eye blend in more with the edges of the rest of the illumination area. So you can even use the water tool to blend in some of that. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and create the reflections in the eyes, and I'm going to create a more horizontal shape. So it looks great when it covers part of this dark area around the eye. And now I'm going to create one on this side that just looks a bit smaller and just covers almost like this other area here. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of small reflections right there. And I'm going to repeat the same exact pattern on the other eye. So you can either just copy paste it or you can try doing it manually. So again, like an elliptical shape almost. Okay, that looks relatively nice. And I'm going to again repeat the process. So I'm going to add the decorations in the part of the eye and then the reflection on the side. Right, so now what we want to do is create a new layer and set it underneath the reflections and set it to luminosity mode. So this mode may be different in your program if you're not using Paint Tools side. So find the one that fits your program. It's probably going to be something like Dodge. So what we want to do is now create like an outer glow around the reflections in the eyes. So we are going to choose the airbrush and we're going to choose a blue color because you want this outer glow to be of the same color as the eye to make it pop even more. So I'm just painting again underneath the reflection and I'm just using the airbrush to create an outer glow. So feel free to play with this until it looks natural. You don't want it to be like a very strong outer glow. So just again play around with it a bit. Right, and then we repeat the process with the other reflections. So we want to add a bit of a glow again to that part on the corner and then on the reflections, small ones. Now if you want to add even more luminosity to the eyes, you can always add more glow in the same way to this area down here. So you can add like a blue color. If it looks good, you can leave it, and if not, if you think it looks really nice as is, then you can leave it as is. So the eyes are looking pretty good and pretty alive, and then we can just go ahead and maybe, if we want to, again, like fix some things here and there to make sure that the eyes pop a lot. Maybe we can increase the gradient in the eye so that the pupils blend in more with the rest of the eye. And another thing that I don't usually do, but it sometimes adds a really nice touch, is to add like an extra reflection on the pupils. Can't pronounce that word. So what I'm going to do is just choose a color like the same blue-green from the eyes, and in the same layer of luminosity where we were painting before, I'm going to go ahead and paint a circle on top of the pupils. And there you go. Make sure you get this shape right so that it doesn't look weird, but when you do that, it gives the eye like an even more interesting aspect, almost alien-like. So it sometimes adds a really nice touch, and it can be interesting to play around with this and see if you like it or not. Maybe you can add some more glow to give it an even more like sci-fi touch. So just again, have fun and see how it goes for you. Alright, so that's how I paint eyes in this style. I hope you found it useful, and let me know if you have any questions. Bye!